Yo, what's up guys? It's Matt Wenning at winningstrength.com, and today we're going to talk about recovery from strength training and factors to consider. So I think by utilizing this video, what you're going to start realizing there's a lot of factors to developing recovery and what you can do to reduce soreness, increase training volume and intensity, and keep you in the game for multiple decades. For most of us, we want to be in shape our entire life. It's not just to be in shape in our prime from like 18 to 22. Right? Most of the firemen I deal with, they're in their 30s and 40s and even 50s, and they're trying to hold on to what little youth they may have left. Or you have general populations that have sit-down desk jobs and they don't get a lot of movement, and now they want to start with this insane program. Well, we both know that all of those things take a lot of different abilities, time, and individual differences, but we need to address those differences before we can start developing the proper program.
Lately I've been living like I can't take a loss. They ain't wanna help me, that's what made me a boss. You can't kill my confidence, I think I'm the man. We don't give a f, that's what they don't understand. I'm back again like flu season, I broke records while loose leafing. I'm coming down my roof, leaving, don't give a f, I don't care. Did the by my lonesome, no wonder now I'm on one. No shortcuts on that long run, all I really want is my share.
So at winningstrength.com, all of these factors are taken into consideration with online coaching, right? So on Patreon and Train Heroic, we write the best workouts we possibly can without seeing the person. This keeps it very affordable economically, but it's not necessarily the best way to train for an individual that might have extra income. Why? Because there's factors to consider, especially when dealing with recovery. So I think we need to cover those factors, which will be fairly lengthy. One is chronological age. So how old you are is going to be heavily dependent on what you can recover from, obviously, right? A person that's 18 years old will be able to recover much faster than somebody that's 55. Doesn't necessarily mean they can't use similar templates. It just means that the total volume, workload, etc. may have to be modified or adjusted based on the fact of chronological age. So as you can see in this graph, it's going to show you some recovery standards of what age actually does. And if you look at military standards, even in general, if we take these military standards, look at how physical capacity is been set to decrease after, say, 26 to 30 years old. You can see a dramatic decline. Now, do I think that most people can hold on to their physical preparedness and genetic peak longer than that? Absolutely, with smart training. But it takes the person that's 40 years old that wants to be as strong as somebody, let's say, that's 26, totally possible, but the factors need to be considered and training has to be much smarter. So age is a huge component to how you should be training. The next thing is experience. So if you have been an ex-Division 1A athlete or a retired NFL football player that's not banged up too bad, your ability to train harder is going to be much higher than somebody that just played video games in high school. But this becomes a huge problem. We've talked about this on other videos. You can't copy what somebody is currently doing without knowing what they've done in the past and how much of a base that they have. Experience is a huge indicator of where you can start somebody in training. If they don't have a very big base, you need to work on base training before you can specify. We deal with this in the fire service constantly. We're asked all the time, why do we need to do all this weight training when it's not specific to fire tasks? Because you have to build a general base in order to specify specific goals. There's not going to be too much you can do if you can't deadlift 2 times your body weight. Once you put 60 to 80 pounds of gear on, you're pretty much worthless in a real fire scenario. This means that your maximal strength has to rise. So you can go and drag all the hoses you want. You can do all the little, fire department drills that you want to do. But at the end of the day, if you don't have high levels of base strength, you're either going to get injured or your time span on that's going to be short. So experience is a huge proponent. The next thing that's huge and is a common thing but we often don't think about is gender. You being male or female or whatever's in between these days is going to be a very big difference on how you recover. Obviously, males have more testosterone, well, they used to 50 years ago, and females tend to have higher estrogens. This changes how the body will actually recover. The other thing that's really affecting gender-specific issues is the amount of toxins and plastics that are around constantly. If you need to know more information on that, just go watch some of our other videos that we talk about toxicities, plastics, and things of those natures that actually help to turn males into females by lowering their estrogens dramatically. This is why I truly think that gender is not as big of an issue as it was 50 years ago, because male and female today, males are not that testosterone driven and physically active. So in reality, yes, the average male is stronger than the average female walking around, but the average female could be stronger than the average male with proper training, based on the fact that most males don't do manual labor jobs anymore. You can see this at the high schools dramatically. So my good friend and assistant Teddy Cox would totally tell you at all the high schools that he trains is that females and males, there's not that much of a difference in strength anymore. Why? I think a lot of it has to do with physical activity and the toxins that are around us constantly. The next thing is, and kind of hit on this, is environment. Altitude. Are you at 8,000 feet? Are you at sea level? Those particular things are going to change how you recover based on the fact of how much oxygen you can carry with red blood cells. And that's just one small thing. But then you also have the training partners, how hard they are, how hard they want to intensively train. And also, one big thing environment is included with online coaching is, what equipment do you have? You know, I love my Good Morning machine and belt squats and fat bars, but at the end of the day, if you don't have those, it's very hard to use them. So with a great coaching training understanding, or having a great online coach, all of these factors are going to be heavily in place when designing the optimal workout for you, especially based on your environment and your equipment. The next big thing that nobody wants to talk about is diet. So with recovery, what you eat and how you eat is going to be directly correlated with how well you can recover. I don't know how many times we talk to general clientele or firemen or any other tactical divisions or even powerlifters, and they start asking, well, I want to be in better shape. How much more work do I need to do? Well, in reality, what you should be looking at is a 24-hour process, and no amount of exercise or cardio is going to burn off a shitty diet. This means that your proteins, fats, carbohydrates not only need to be timed and done properly, but they also need to be a huge proponent of your thought process and your preparation for the day. Most of us want to put all of our emphasis on training volumes and intensities, which, don't get me wrong, are very important. But if you're eating like shit on top of it, your gains are going to be marginal, and the ability for you to recover from more work is going to be limited. The next big thing is that we're all different psychologically. We can all handle different training loads. We can all handle different amounts of work. I'll take two examples. One example is Andrei Milanichev, probably one of the best super heavyweight powerlifters to ever live. Didn't get burned out in 20 years of using straight bar, straight weight, constantly, all the time, never backing down from doing regular squats, benches, and deadlifts. I've only ever met a handful of people that can do that. Take me, for example. I needed a lot of variation. I get psychologically burned out very fast. I notice that a lot of other people get burned out really fast. And I find that a rotating system with multiple exercises not only reduces psychological burnout, but also enhances the ability to train more volume due to lack of mileage in the same area all the time. This is a huge psychological barrier that many people have that may be training in their garage or a basic standard gym, and they don't have what we would consider specialized equipment to get better and rotate in. This is going to cause massive psychological burnout and usually leaves people just burning in the coals after anywhere from 6 months to a year and a half of training, and a lot of it's because they're psychologically fried. So I hope this starts to help you understand why we take online coaching so seriously, why recovery is the number one capacity to what you do, and why you need to understand all these variables so that you can make a better training system for yourself or leave it to a professional. So we'll see you guys at winningstrength.com. Go check out Patreon if you have any questions, Train Heroic if you want to see workouts, and online coaching if you want the best of all worlds. Talk to you guys later.
Lately I've been living like I can't take a loss.